From a car that killed the actual Cannonball race to 12 fake exhaust pipes and a sunscreen mogul's impulsive on-set purchase, the black Lamborghini that tore across movie screens in 1981 hides secrets wilder than its opening police chase. This wasn't just any Countach, it was one of only 105 ever built, inspired Jackie Chan's career signature move, and became so culturally significant it now resides in the Library of Congress. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about the Cannonball Run's Lamborghini Countach LP 400S. Fact 1. This car actually killed the real Cannonball race. The black Lamborghini Countach that became a movie star in 1981 was actually responsible for ending the real Cannonball race before it ever got a chance to compete. In 1979, a man named Terry Bernius purchased this brand-new Countach LP 400S, one of only 105 built that year, and he was absolutely thrilled about his new toy. Bernius was friends with Brock Yates, the automotive journalist who had created the Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash back in 1971 as a protest against America's 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. When Bernius excitedly contacted Yates to show him the sleek black supercar and announced his intention to drive it in the upcoming 1979 Cannonball race, Yates had an immediate change of heart about the entire event. The Countach was capable of speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour, and while Bernius was a competent driver, Yates didn't believe anyone could safely handle that kind of power across nearly 3,000 miles of American highways. The light went off in Brock's head, and he told his wife that he could never do another Cannonball because someone was going to end up getting hurt. Right then and there, Yates made the decision to end the Cannonball forever, declaring that these cars were getting too fast and things had gotten out of hand. The 1979 race would be the last official Cannonball run. Ironically, the very car that killed the race never actually competed in it. But Yates felt guilty about disqualifying his friend's dream machine, so he made amends by giving that same Lamborghini Countach a starring role in the movie he was writing about the legendary races. Fact 2. The car never raced, but starred. Instead, after Brock Yates shut down the Cannonball race specifically because Terry Bernius wanted to drive his new Countach in it, Yates felt terrible about disappointing his friend who had been so excited about competing. Bernius had just purchased this incredible supercar with dreams of racing it across America, only to have those dreams crushed by the very person who created the race. To make amends for disqualifying the Countach and ending Bernius's racing aspirations, Yates came up with a different way to immortalize the car. He was already working on a screenplay about the legendary Cannonball races with director Hal Needham, who had previously directed Smokey and the Bandit, and Yates decided to give Bernius's Lamborghini the starring role in the film. The original owner, who lived in Florida and was a friend of director Hal Needham, agreed to loan the car for filming. Even though this particular Countach never actually competed in any of the real Cannonball races that took place between 1971 and 1979, it became the most famous car from the entire Cannonball legacy. Yates and Needham structured the movie so that the black Lamborghini would be the hero vehicle, giving it the iconic 4-minute opening chase sequence and ultimately having it win the fictional race in the film. The car got more screen time and attention than any other vehicle in the movie, which featured an impressive lineup, including a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, an Aston Martin DB5, and a Ferrari 308. What started as an apology to a disappointed friend turned into one of the most memorable automotive moments in cinema history, and the Countach became far more famous through the movie than it ever would have been by actually racing. Fact 3. 12 exhaust pipes were completely fake. One of the most eye-catching features of the Cannonball Run Countach was the dozen gleaming chrome exhaust pipes protruding from the back of the car, but those impressive-looking pipes were completely non-functional and added purely for Hollywood spectacle. The production's props department decided that the standard Lamborghini Countach, as exotic and wild as it already looked, needed even more visual drama to make it stand out on screen and emphasize just how outrageous this particular car was supposed to be. In reality, the 1979 Countach LP 400S had a 4-liter V12 engine with its original factory exhaust system that featured just the normal number of pipes you would expect on any Lamborghini. But the filmmakers felt that wasn't dramatic enough for audiences who might not be familiar with exotic cars. So they mounted 12 decorative chrome exhaust tips onto the rear of the vehicle, creating an absurdly over-the-top look that became one of the car's most recognizable features in the film. These fake pipes served no mechanical purpose whatsoever and were simply bolted onto the car's exterior as set dressing, much like a costume piece for an actor. The props team also added other theatrical modifications, including a front spoiler with 2 extra spotlights, 3 CB radio-style antennas sticking up from various points on the body, and a large rear wing, all designed to make the Countach look even more extreme than it already was. After filming wrapped, the original owner kept all of these movie modifications on the car rather than returning it to factory specifications, and those 12 fake exhaust pipes remained in place for decades as the vehicle changed hands between different owners, becoming such an iconic part of the car's identity that they're still there today. Fact 4. Fake gauges fooled the passenger. The movie's props department didn't stop at adding fake exhaust pipes to the exterior of the Countach. They also installed completely phony instrument clusters on the passenger side of the dashboard to create the illusion that both occupants were actively piloting some kind of high-tech spacecraft rather than just a regular car. In the film, actresses Adrienne Barbeau and Tara Buckman drove the Countach as the only all-female team in the race, and the filmmakers wanted to emphasize the futuristic, almost science fiction quality of this exotic Italian supercar that most Americans had never seen in person. The fake auxiliary gauges were positioned directly in front of the passenger seat, making it appear as though the co-pilot had their own set of controls and readouts to monitor during the race, even though these instruments were entirely non-functional and purely decorative. This detail added to the overall theatricality of the car's appearance and helped sell the idea that driving a Lamborghini Countach was more like operating a fighter jet than a normal vehicle. The props team also installed a mobile phone in the cockpit, which was extremely rare and impressive technology in 1981 when most people had never seen a car phone before. Unlike the 12 exhaust pipes and the front spoiler that remained on the car after filming ended, these fake passenger-side instrument clusters were eventually removed at some point during the vehicle's history. When the car was later restored to its movie specifications before being inducted into the National Historic Vehicle Register in 2021, the fake gauges were not reinstalled, so today's viewers can see the Countach with its original factory dashboard on the passenger side rather than the Hollywood props that appeared in the film. Fact 5. Movie poster showed wrong color. When the Cannonball run hit theaters in June of 1981, moviegoers who had seen the promotional posters might have been confused when they watched the actual film because the theatrical poster prominently featured a red Lamborghini Countach, even though the hero car that appears throughout the entire movie is jet black with a mustard yellow interior. The marketing department's decision to use a completely different colored Countach on the poster created a disconnect between the advertising materials and what audiences actually saw on screen, and this confusion has persisted among fans and collectors for over 4 decades. Nobody knows exactly why the poster designers chose to depict a red Lamborghini instead of using the actual black one from the film, but it's possible they thought a bright red sports car would be more eye-catching and attention-grabbing on a crowded theater wall than a black one, or perhaps they simply used stock photography or artwork of a Countach without checking what color the movie car actually was. The real Countach used in filming, chassis number 1121112, was finished in Nero black from the factory and remained that color throughout production and for decades afterward. This poster discrepancy has led to some interesting situations over the years, with fans sometimes remembering or looking for a red Countach from the Cannonball run when searching for memorabilia or information about the film, not realizing that the iconic car from the opening chase scene and throughout the movie is actually black. The sequel, Cannonball Run 2, released in 1984, featured both a white and a red Countach, which may have added to the confusion for people who conflated the two films or saw the first movie's poster and assumed it matched what appeared on screen. Fact 6. Hawaiian Tropic founder bought it on set. While the Cannonball run was being filmed, the black Lamborghini Countach caught the eye of an unexpected buyer who happened to be visiting the set, and the car changed ownership right there in the middle of production. Ron Rice, the founder and owner of Hawaiian Tropic sunscreen products, was on set because he had paid for product placement to have his brand featured prominently throughout the film, and he was allowed to hang around during filming to see how his advertising dollars were being spent. Rice was an early pioneer of product placement in movies and understood the marketing value of having Hawaiian Tropic associated with fast cars and beautiful people, so the production team welcomed him to observe the shoot. When Rice laid eyes on the modified Countach with its 12 exhaust pipes, front spoiler, and aggressive styling, he was immediately smitten with the exotic supercar and knew he had to own it. Without any hesitation, Rice approached Terry Bernius, who still owned the car at that point, and bought the Lamborghini from him on the spot while the movie was still being made. Rice ended up keeping the famous Countach as part of his exotic car collection for the next 23 years, holding on to it from 1981 all the way until 2004. During those 2 decades, Rice stored the car at his Florida residence and kept all of the movie modifications intact, though at some point he did change the interior from its original Senape mustard tan color to burgundy red seats. The Hawaiian Tropic founder clearly loved the car enough to keep it for nearly a quarter century before finally deciding to part with it, and his impulsive purchase on the film set ensured that this particular Countach would remain in its theatrical configuration rather than being returned to stock specifications after filming wrapped. Fact 7. Neither actress had seen a Lamborghini before. Adrienne Barbeau and Tara Buckman, who played the film's only all-female racing team and drove the winning Countach across the finish line, had an unusual distinction when they showed up for filming in 1981. Neither one of them had ever seen a Lamborghini in person before, let alone driven one. When they were reunited with the car in 2024 for the 45th anniversary celebration, both actresses admitted that their first encounter with the exotic Italian supercar happened on the movie set, which seems almost impossible to imagine given how famous the Countach became. Barbeau said she immediately thought it was beautiful, simply beautiful, and still felt the same way decades later, while Buckman agreed that they had the best car and it was definitely the most beautiful of all the vehicles in the film. The reason these successful Hollywood actresses had never encountered a Lamborghini before makes sense when you consider just how rare these cars were at the time, as Lamborghini was only producing around 50 vehicles per year in the late 1970s and early 1980s. For context, modern Lamborghini produces thousands of cars annually. But back then, the brand was a tiny operation, building hand-assembled exotic cars in very limited numbers, which meant the chances of randomly seeing one on the street were incredibly slim, even in wealthy areas of Los Angeles. Most Americans in 1981 had never seen a Lamborghini except in magazines or books, which is why the opening scene of the Cannonball run had such an enormous impact on audiences who got to see and hear the Countach in motion for the very first time in their lives, just like Barbeau and Buckman experienced when they arrived on set. Fact 8. Actresses didn't meet again for 40+ years. Despite sharing one of the most iconic scenes in automotive cinema history and becoming permanently linked in the minds of car enthusiasts around the world, Adrienne Barbeau and Tara Buckman didn't see each other in person again after filming wrapped until Lamborghini organized a special reunion in June of 2024. The two actresses, who played characters named Marcy Thatcher and Jill Rivers in the film, hadn't been in the same room together for 43 years since the movie's release on June 19, 1981, even though their roles in the Cannonball run had defined a significant part of both their careers. As is often the case with working actors in Hollywood, they went their separate ways after production ended and pursued different projects, with their paths simply never crossing again, despite both remaining active in the entertainment industry. Buckman noted that it was impossible for her to remember how many times she had signed photos or model cars of the Countach over the decades, while Barbeau mentioned that everyone knows the two girls in the Lamborghini and that they are inextricably tied to that role. When Lamborghini brought them together for the 45th anniversary of the Countach LP 400S that starred in the movie, it was an emotional and nostalgic moment as they stood with the actual black car they had, driven all those years ago. The reunion took place with the vehicle serving as an evocative backdrop, and both women shared memories of filming, including their favorite scenes, with Barbeau particularly remembering the moment when Buckman's character gets out of the car to spray paint an X over a speed limit sign. Neither actress had expected the movie to achieve the incredible long-lasting success it ultimately did when they were making it. Fact 9. It's more famous than Catwoman. Adrienne Barbeau has had an impressive and diverse career in Hollywood that includes playing Catwoman in a Batman movie and starring in numerous horror film classics. Yet she says the role that fans most frequently want to talk about is her brief appearance as one half of the Lamborghini driving duo in the Cannonball run. In her own words, Barbeau admitted that despite her success as an actress in horror movies and playing Catwoman in the Batman film, people ask her above all to autograph Countach model cars, showing just how much the black Lamborghini overshadowed everything else she accomplished in her career. This is particularly remarkable considering that Barbeau's role in the Cannonball run was relatively small compared to her other work, as she and Tara Buckman appear primarily in the opening chase sequence and a few other scenes throughout the movie, whereas her horror film roles and superhero character were much more substantial parts. Barbeau didn't even realize how successful the movie was until people started asking her for autographs afterward, and she seemed genuinely surprised by the lasting impact of those few minutes of screen time spent driving an exotic car. The fact that a supporting role in a comedy about an illegal car race would become more memorable to the public than playing one of the most famous comic book villains of all time speaks to the incredible cultural impact that the Countach had on audiences in 1981. For decades now, fans have approached Barbeau at conventions and public appearances, asking her to sign toy models and photographs of the Lamborghini rather than memorabilia from her horror films or Batman, proving that sometimes a single iconic image or moment can define an actor's public perception more than their entire body of work. Fact 10. Interior. Was burgundy for decades. The Cannonball Run Countach left the factory in 1979 with a distinctive centipede interior, which is Italian for mustard yellow or mustard tan, creating a striking contrast against the car's black exterior that made it instantly recognizable on screen. However, at some point during the vehicle's history after filming Wrapped, one of the owners decided they didn't care for the unusual mustard-colored seats and dashboard and had the entire interior reupholstered in burgundy red leather instead. Ron Rice, the Hawaiian Tropic founder who bought the car on set and kept it for 23 years, was responsible for making this change. During his ownership, swapping out the original Centipede leather for the darker burgundy color that he presumably found more to his personal taste. The car remained with this burgundy interior for many years as it passed from Rice to another collector and eventually appeared at an auction in February of 2009, where it was purchased by its current owner, Jeff Ippoliti, still wearing the red seats. When the Hagerty Drivers Foundation tracked down the famous Countach in 2021 to induct it into the National Historic Vehicle Register at the Library of Congress, they worked with Ippoliti to restore the car to its exact movie specifications, which meant removing the burgundy interior and reinstalling the original Centipede mustard tan leather to match how it appeared on screen in 1981. This 3-year restoration process ensured that when the Countach was displayed on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., and later preserved in the Library of Congress archives, it would look precisely as audiences remembered it from the film's iconic opening chase sequence. Today, visitors who see the car at special events can experience it exactly as Adrienne Barbeau and Tara Buckman drove it over 40 years ago, complete with the distinctive mustard yellow interior. Fact 11. It inspired Jackie Chan's signature tradition. Jackie Chan made one of his earliest American film appearances in the Cannonball Run, playing a Japanese race car driver alongside Michael Hui in a gadget-filled Subaru. And while his role in the movie was relatively minor, he took away something from the experience that would become one of his most famous trademarks for the next 4 decades. Director Hal Needham had a tradition of showing blooper reels and outtakes during the closing credits of his films, which he had started with Smokey and the Bandit 2, and he continued this practice with the Cannonball Run by including footage of actors flubbing their lines, breaking character, and making mistakes during filming. Chan was so impressed by the audience reaction to these bloopers at the end of the movie, watching people laugh and stay in their seats to see the funny mistakes rather than immediately leaving the theater, that he decided to adopt the exact same practice for his own films, starting with Dragonlord in 1982. From that point forward, showing bloopers and behind-the-scenes footage of stunts gone wrong during the end credits became an absolute signature element of Jackie Chan movies, appearing in virtually every film he made throughout the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s. Chan himself has acknowledged that it was the Cannonball Run that inspired him to do this, stating that he picked up the use of bloopers and outtakes under the final credits from Needham's film and continued doing it in all his movies since then. What started as a small role in an American ensemble comedy ended up influencing one of the most recognizable aspects of Jackie Chan's filmmaking style, and millions of moviegoers around the world now associate end credits bloopers with Chan's work. Fact 12. Steve McQueen's death changed everything. The Cannonball Run that audiences saw in theaters in 1981 was drastically different from what screenwriter Brock Yates originally envisioned when he first wrote the screenplay, because the entire tone and style of the movie changed after a tragic turn of events involving the film's intended star. Yates had written The Cannonball Run as a straightforward action film with Steve McQueen in mind for the lead role, planning to capture the gritty, intense spirit of the real, illegal cross-country races, with McQueen bringing his legendary cool and credibility as an actual racing enthusiast to the project. McQueen was one of the biggest movie stars in the world and was known for doing his own stunts and having genuine passion for motorcycles and race cars, making him the perfect choice to lead a serious film about underground racing. However, McQueen was diagnosed with cancer early in 1980, which made him unable to commit to the physically demanding role, and he tragically passed away in November of that same year at the age of 50. After losing McQueen, the producers brought in Burt Reynolds to take over the lead role, but Reynolds had a very different style and sensibility than McQueen, having just come off the massive success of the Smokey and the Bandit films, which were comedic rather than dramatic. With Reynolds' influence and his established chemistry with director Hal Needham from their previous collaborations, the entire screenplay was reworked and the tone shifted from serious action to slapstick comedy, with the cast growing to include dozens of comedic actors and celebrities rather than focusing on a smaller core of dramatic performers. The movie that eventually hit screens was far more farcical and joke-driven than Yates had originally intended. Fact 13. Only 30th car in America's historic register. In 2021, exactly 40 years after the Cannonball Run premiered in theaters, the black Lamborghini Countach achieved an extraordinary honor by becoming only the 30th vehicle in history to be inducted into the National Historic Vehicle Register at the Library of Congress. The National Historic Vehicle Register is managed by the Haggerty Drivers Foundation in partnership with the United States Department of the Interior, and was established in 2013 to preserve and document automobiles that have significantly influenced American history and culture. Getting a car accepted into this prestigious register is incredibly difficult, as vehicles must be deemed of extraordinary importance to American society, tradition, and history before all the knowledge connected to them, from construction designs to photographs to original documents and their entire story, gets preserved and archived in the halls of the Library of Congress. The Countach joined an elite group of legendary automobiles, including the 1981 DeLorean Hero car from Back to the Future, the 1968 Ford Mustang driven by Steve McQueen in Bullitt, the 1954 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL, the 1964 Shelby Cobra Daytona Coupe, and the 1947 Tucker 48 prototype. To celebrate this historic recognition, the Countach was displayed in September 2021 inside a glass case on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., one of the capital's most important historic sites that's also home to the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. The Hagerty Drivers Foundation created a complete three-dimensional scan of the vehicle and compiled all documentation related to its history, ensuring that future generations will be able to study and appreciate this particular Countach, even if the physical car itself is someday lost or destroyed. Fact 14. Current owner negotiated for 18 months. Jeff Ippoliti, a Florida attorney and lifelong Lamborghini enthusiast, first saw the Cannonball run when it came out in 1981 and went back to the theater about a dozen times just to watch the opening scene with the black Countach, becoming completely obsessed with the car as a young boy. He never imagined he would actually see the famous movie car in person, let alone own it, but fate brought them together in 2004 when Ippoliti and his brother started the Celebration Exotic Car Festival in Daytona Beach as a charity event. Ippoliti had heard through the car community that Ron Rice, the Hawaiian Tropic founder who bought the Countach on the movie set, lived in Florida and still owned the vehicle. So he did some networking and managed to get Rice on the phone to ask if he would bring the car to the festival. When the Countach showed up at the event, Ippoliti said it was like seeing his favorite movie star, and the person who delivered it mentioned that Rice was thinking about selling it. Ippoliti immediately called Rice back and told him that he had dreamed about this car his whole life and would do anything to buy it, but Rice was reluctant to part with the Lamborghini he had owned for 23 years. What followed was a year and a half of negotiations between Ippoliti and Rice, with the attorney persistently making his case about why he should be the next owner of this historic vehicle. Finally, in 2009, after 18 months of back-and-forth discussions, Rice agreed to sell, and Ippoliti became the third private owner of the famous Countach, fulfilling his childhood dream of owning the car that had captivated him nearly 3 decades earlier. Fact 15. It has only 16,067 miles. Despite being manufactured in November of 1979 and living through more than 45 years of existence that included starring in a major Hollywood film, being owned by 3 different private collectors, appearing at numerous car shows and events, and being displayed on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., this legendary Countach has accumulated only 16,067 miles on its odometer. This remarkably low mileage is almost unbelievable for a car of this age and significance, especially considering that most exotic cars from the late 1970s have either been driven extensively by their owners or have deteriorated from sitting unused for decades. The original owner in Florida who loaned it to the movie production clearly didn't drive it much, and Ron Rice kept the car mostly in storage at his Florida residence during the 23 years he owned it from 1981 to 2004, preserving it as a collector's piece rather than using it as regular transportation. Current owner Jeff Ippoliti has been more active with the vehicle, taking it to car shows and special events, and even driving it occasionally on the road, but he's also been extremely careful about maintaining its historical significance and keeping the mileage low. For context, the average car in America accumulates around 12,000 to 15,000 miles per year, which would mean a vehicle from 1979 should theoretically have well over 500,000 miles by now if driven normally. The fact that this Countach has less than 17,000 miles after more than 4.5 decades is a testament to how carefully it's been preserved by each successive owner who understood they were custodians of an important piece of automotive and cinema history rather than just owners of a regular car.